I'm going to be honest. When I first drew this out, I was like, I'm going to talk about three things. As I've recorded these videos, I've realized that it's like three and a possible that I'm talking about every time I talk about each of my teams. And since I've already recorded the Colorado one and the Texas one, it was only right for my Steelers one to add an additional one to grow on the things that I think are going to make us successful this season. So, as I've done with every other video, let's get into it. One of the interesting things about the Steelers is that we do this weird thing and that we win ugly. We're a historic franchise. Our coach is our coach. And it's just like this interesting predicament to be in. It's like everybody knows the Steelers is like tough nose football. Everybody knows who the Steelers are as far as an organization and what you're going to get when the team shows up. But the truth is, ever since Ben has retired, and let's be real, even like 2 or 3 years before Ben retired, the Steelers have become an average team. And what I mean by average is, yes, they have been to the playoffs. Yes, they've done things. Yes, they've never had a losing season since Mike Tomlin's been the head coach. But a lot of the things that they do have been very average. And they're usually the last team that makes the playoffs when they make the playoffs, and they usually need help. And that is because we have a history of losing to the teams that we should never lose to, not once or twice, usually 3 or 4 times. And then we beat the teams that we shouldn't beat. And then we run through our division, which is kind of weird. And a lot of reasons why we run through our division, if I'm being honest, is because our division has already clinched. And so since we play our division rivals on the back end of our schedule, we usually beat them on the back end when they've rested their starters, and then we get into the playoffs. So there's this weird thing that's happening with being a Steelers fan. Yes, we've had success, but it's one of those things where I always say, like, if you look at numbers, sometimes numbers are skewed and sometimes numbers don't tell the whole story. So the numbers will say the Steelers haven't had a losing season. As a Steelers fan, that is being somebody that's known for going to the Super Bowl, winning playoff games and things like that, we have actually underachieved. And I know there's a little bit of privilege in me saying that as as a Steelers organization, we have underachieved because there's teams that haven't even come close to doing the things that we've done. But we've been like middle of the road for the past 10 years. And that's just the truth. We always pick like number 16, 14, 22, 23 in the draft. We're never terrible. We don't tank, but we're also not good. We're just average. That's how, at least how I see us. And so as an honest Steelers fan, that is my assessment of our team. And so for me, I think in order for us to the next step, and in order for us to do the things that I'm accustomed to us doing, first of all, we have to get through this tough division and stay healthy, which in football, I think it's like 100% injury rate, but the injuries kind of depend on like seriousness to like season ending to non-season ending. But the truth is we have to come together as a team. Usually when we lose, our offense plays terrible and our defense plays okay, or our defense plays terrible and then our offense. So like it feels like we can never always be in sync. And there's just some things that we just don't do very well that I'm really hoping this year that we clean up. It's funny that I'm saying that because this year we also happen to have the toughest schedule that we've had in a long time. We also have 2 new shiny quarterbacks. So there's a lot of moving things happening in the Steelers world. But as always, and like I've done in my other videos, I am going to take some time and talk about the keys to success that I think for the Steelers this year. And as I've said before, let me move my hair away from the microphone so it doesn't get staticky. But here are the 3 and a possible things that I think that are keys to the Steelers' success this year. The first one is going to be very obvious. It is going to be whoever's playing quarterback. Whoever's playing quarterback has to play well. They have to be able to move the ball down the field. And I know it sounds really ridiculous that I'm saying that, but believe it or not, we have had this problem for the past 5 years. Ever since Ben got old, so his last 2 years, and really since Ben has been retired, we have not had a quarterback that will throw the ball down the field consistently. Mason Rudolph started to do that at the end of the year last year. We go on this winning streak, whatever. That's great. But we need our quarterback to be able to pass the ball down the field. This sounds very basic, but that is what we need. I have said previously on other videos talking about the NFL In my personal opinion, the NFL is full of game managers. The NFL, to me, is full of quarterbacks that we don't want you to cost us the game. We don't want you as quarterback to be the reason that we lose the game, but we do want you to be a reason why we win a game. And I feel like that is the same for the Steelers this year. Our quarterback play has to be good. We have to have a quarterback that can make good decisions. We have to have a quarterback that can actually throw the ball down the field and complete passes. That would actually be fantastic. That's one thing that I think that is going to contribute to the Steelers' success this year. The second thing that I think is going to contribute to the Steelers' success this year is going to be Patrick Queen. So Patrick Queen coming over from the Ravens is going to be super important this year, and it's going to be important for our linebacker group. Our linebacker group has been historically a group that's just been good because that's just Steelers football. We have good linebackers. That's just what we do. It is what it is. But Patrick Queen really needs to come over and give us that next step up. I think it's not good enough. It's not good enough anymore for the Steelers just to be kind of good and kind of average. We really have to step up and set the bar a little higher. And I think that Patrick Queen can do that. I know the Ravens fans were disappointed when Patrick Queen came to the Steelers, and I'm just hoping that this year Patrick Queen has a great year. I think if he has a great year, I think the Steelers will be successful. The other person this year that I think will make the Steelers successful that I feel like we don't often talk about, but in Steelers world we've kind of mentioned him, is Darnell Washington. Big tight end, has big playmaking ability, came from a great university, and I really think Darnell Washington can be a difference maker in our offense this year. Yes, we already have a great tight end, so I'm not going to take away from that, but I don't care how many good tight ends we have. I will take them, but I think this year, hopefully we see Darnell Washington in more packages. Hopefully Darnell Washington is ready to play in bigger packages, and hopefully he has a say in what happens this year. Hopefully he becomes one of those guys where you just can't take him off the field. And I think if he shows up and if he is successful, I really think that will aid in the Steelers' success this year, because at the end of the day, as I said before, we've got to be able to move the ball down the field. And I think sometimes, in my personal opinion, forgotten about person a lot of times in good offenses is the tight end. Obviously, we know the great tight ends because we talk about them a lot. But if you also look at other teams and watch those tight ends go to work, a lot of times the tight ends are the reason for the offense to really be moving and really be functioning well. So if Darnell Washington has a great year this year, or if he exceeds expectations this year, I think that is a good indicator on the Steelers' success. My possible is going to be Keanu Benton. And here's the thing. If you know me, or if you've listened to anything that I've said, I think I said his name right, but if you know me and you've listened to anything that I said, I love a good nose tackle. I love a solid nose tackle that you can depend on, that can really step in and change the play, that can really step in and dominate and make things get really interesting for the opposing team's offensive line. I think when you have a solid defense like the Steelers have, and you can get pressure from the nose tackle, or the nose tackle can really step in there and clog up things and make things very difficult, I think you have the markings for being a good team. One of the things I also know about the AFC North is we love to run the ball. And if we can stop the run and Benton can really get in there and his second year be a shining star, I think he will give the Steelers an advantage. I will say the interesting thing about Benton is last year he had a decent year. I don't think he did anything wrong. He was just a rookie, so he was just kind of filling out and doing, doing what rookies do, being great and, all the things. But I really think if Benton steps up this year, I really think he will make the difference on defense, because he will make things a little bit harder and a little bit more difficult. I do want to just mention, because it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and because this is my team, there is a high probability that these four things that I just mentioned are going to have great seasons and they're going to do very well, and my team still not do very well, because that is the Steelers way. And that has been what has happened over the past few years. But I'm going to take that away, and I'm going to stop thinking that way. And I'm going to think that if all four of these people step up, and if all four of these, well, the quarterback group is a position group, but if all four of these things turned out to be the difference makers, I really think the Steelers are going to do something this year that a lot of people aren't prepared to see. And before anybody asks me, success for the Steelers will be two things. The first thing it will be is making the playoffs. So if the Steelers don't make the playoffs, full stop, it's not a successful season. The second part of success for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this, I hate that I'm going to reduce success to this thing, is going to be winning a playoff game. If the Steelers get to the playoffs and win a playoff game, we will know they're moving in the right direction. And if they do that, depending on what happens at quarterback, we will know who our quarterback is going to be for the future. And so I know that sometimes as sports fans, we always want the big thing to happen. We want the next year to be the best year. We want the next year to be the year we win the Super Bowl, the year we go to the national championship. I got it. For me, at least if they make the playoffs, A, and B, at least if they win a playoff game, I will feel comfortable in knowing that the Steelers are on the right track. I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't want to talk about what ifs. I don't want to even get into the toughest schedule. That is the standard. Mike Tomlin always says the standard is the standard. And so that is what I'm going with this year. And so if any of these four people do what I'm hoping that they do, the Steelers should have a successful season this year. Who knows what's actually going to happen? At the end of the day, I don't know. I'm just making a video and hoping and praying. Okay, so just give me a second. But no, seriously, if they do these things, I think it'll be great. And I think that they can be the difference makers in the AFC North because the AFC North is the toughest division in football. But that is okay because I'm riding with my Steelers. And like I said in my video that I made months ago, we're going to the Super Bowl. This is the year. Anyways, let me shut up and stop talking. But I always say it is what it is. And it really is what it is. And I hope this year the Steelers figure it out because if not, I'm going to be pissed.